Our Father's peace to everyone who catches this message. It's time for a party. Today called Obedience and Sacrifice. Obedience and Sacrifice. Yesterday I ended the broadcast with a statement that I was going to go do some research about the vision of New Jerusalem descending down from the clouds. Got a visitor in YouTube land. Shalom to you. Akati Debra. How Shalom Aparati. Today we're getting together because it's time for an obedience and sacrifice party. Yesterday, as I ended the live, I stated that I needed to go and find out about the vision that is in, I found the book too, Ezekiel 40 through 48. Today's discussion is going to cover what's a Levite? What is a Hebrew? What are the children of Yahasharah really supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. Why are we so involved in mysticism? The question of speaking in tongues comes up 1,000,000 times a day. I was watching Pastor Don's broadcast earlier today. And it's from 8 days ago, I believe. He had some information to pass on about Pentecost. That's the word I'm looking for. He had some information to talk about Pentecost. And so I was listening in to catch what the message was. Looky here, we got 20 people in YouTube land. Yahweh Shalom Barak to all of you. Our Father's peace and blessings be upon you. Allahu Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our Father's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you. Jesse Hicks, peace and blessings to you. What's up? We get together Sunday through Friday to talk about entrepreneurship and service in your community. We have 10 special interest groups that we speak about. Each of them has their own day. Today, we will be talking about good food bins. Each of those different special interest groups also have perspectives. Since we're talking about entrepreneurship, these groups are basically companies, businesses. So we're looking at organic marketing strategies concerning each one. So with Good Food Bins, we look at social media. An entrepreneur does not consume very often, except for food and necessities and things like that, because an entrepreneur has to make sure to beat overhead costs concerning business and then even at home. It would make no sense to be an entrepreneur who has gained $1 million just to turn around and spend $1 million and have nothing to show for it. So an entrepreneur has productive habits things that will cause increase. So how can I have a mindset as a producer if I'm on social media? That means I don't go to the different platforms just to look and consume what other people are posting. Most of the time I can't tolerate it. I can't stomach it. Most of it's obnoxious. Now that leads me to an activity that I had going on last night. I went and did a couple of posts and I was actually being obnoxious. We're on YouTube right now, although I could be on several other platforms. There was a time when we were doing simultaneous broadcasts through YouTube and also over on TikTok. The program that I'm using right now, it's called Restream. I have the option of using Facebook instead of TikTok. I have the option of using Twitch and several other different sites. Some of them you may not have even heard of, which means that when I go on those sites, it's not my friends, it's not my immediate family that's tuning in. It's random people. Just like when this live broadcast started, 20 people came in as looky-loos. They wanted to see what was going on. Who's this? Now, depending on what it is that you're talking about, some people will stick around because they actually want to know. And then there's the other people who are just distracted. They want to consume all of the random garbage to distract their minds, to get away from dealing with reality. On TikTok, you have all the same circles and clicks as you would in normal, regular society. And that goes for every platform. Everybody gets into circles and cliques. It's not the way we're supposed to be. However, that's what people do. And when they get in their circles and their cliques, then they feel comfort in numbers. So then it turns into, well, I'm just going to show up and show my face and quote something that my circle says for solidarity. We have to get beyond that. I was real gung-ho when I joined up on TikTok, and all of a sudden I saw all these people talking about native pride. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Because it runs through my bloodstream. Question, bro. Hey, Tracy, much obliged. It runs through my bloodstream. I am Blackfoot Soup. Now, does that mean that I'm going to jump up in front of your face every time I see you and remind you that I'm Blackfoot Soup? No, because there's more to me than that. TJ, what you want to be when you grow up? Cowboy. You want to play football? That's real cute. No. What kind of cowboy you want to be? Tonto. Tonto's not a cowboy. He's better at it than Lone Ranger. No matter what it is that you put in front of me, I'm going to still be me. I'm just going to be better at it than you are. Our Kohelet likes to say, nobody will ever outwork me. Wherever I go and I show up, no one can outwork me. I just laugh. Kohelet, I may not have done the type of work you've done. You may not have done the type of work I've done. However, I don't go around ushering things like that. It's very rare when I do. When I say things like that, I say things like, I outpace people who are my age and some who are younger. If I told you that I outwork you, there ain't enough hours in the day. Now, whatever your task is and whatever your work is and what you have going on, yeah, I cannot outwork you for what you are doing. Now, when it comes to toils and tasks and what I do for my work on this divine path, you're going to have a real hard time keeping up with me. That's not bragging. That's not boasting. It's what I stand on. It's what I do. It's what I'm known for. One moment. My first line in work is research, diligent research. My second line in work is to go out and pass the message of whatever it was that I learned, especially if it ascertains to the children of Yahasharael, if it ascertains to anything that has to do with being a Muslim, if it ascertains to anything that has to do with an entrepreneur, anything that ascertains to justice. I study on a constant basis to the point where there are times where I have to make my brain stop. Tapelo Nkise. Yahweh Shalom Barak. Assalamu alaikum. Allahu assalamu alaikum. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Father's peace, blessings, and mercy be upon you. Thank you for swooping in on the party. I have a few things to say, and then we're going to get on with this. All right. I was saying that we'll go on the TikTok platform, and I'm seeing all these people who are content creators, and they're speaking on their native pride and all of that. And boom, out of nowhere, we get BLM and Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter and all lives matter and matter, matter, matter. A whole bunch of bickering back and forth about who's more important and who's right, who's wrong, about hashtag righteousness, about hashtag justice, about hashtag repatriation before reparations. See, I'm on a boat, and the things that I do are in code because I live by a codex. So there's a few content creators on TikTok that I actually did start following because they were native. They put it on their description, native. I like to put aborigine, aboriginal, indigenous, even, native. Okay. N8TIVE, native. One of them is his sister, Akati Janu. Janu shares information about how she contacts her ancestors and whatnot. And I'm not talking like voodoo rituals or nothing like that. Just, you sit and you think back on what your grandma used to tell you. And then you actually will feel a breeze come through the room as you think to yourself, hey, that's it. That's the idea I need to go on and follow with while I was trying to figure out what I need to do. Now, you're not just talking to your grandma at that moment, and I'm not just shooting this to her. because she does expound on it as well. I'm speaking with whoever happens to hear my voice, so I want to make sure it's plain. People are always talking about how they consult their ancestors for advice. I do not have an altar on a table somewhere with my granddaddy's picture on it. I would be hard pressed to be able to show you a picture of my granddaddy right now. And I've actually went and took some pictures and saved them and placed them. I'm not talking about physically taking a picture. I've gone to where there are photos of him through my auntie. There's some stuff in my mom's collections. So I have some digital photos saved. If I want to see pretty much anyone in my family, if I look at the laptop screen over here next to me, it does a slideshow for the screensaver. I miss my family. I look at the screen and I can see them. When you start thinking about those gentle words of wisdom that are coming to you, those nuggets of knowledge, that feeling of conscientiousness, it's not your ancestors talking to you. It's Yahweh Elohim. It's Ravak HaKadosh. We always talk about the importance of names, Shem, authority. We talk about where we went to school and studied, the subjects that we are knowledgeable about. But what you know is what you end up presenting to the people. What you live and how you do is presented to the people right then and there. Nothing you can do about it. If you went to so and so campus, they have certain doctrine. And when you leave from there saying that you graduated and you have a degree, you're going to be talking exactly like everybody who is an alumni there. Wherever you happen to live, if you take up all the social issues and the civic issues and so on and so forth, then they're going to say, okay, well, you're a resident here and your mind is going to be a resident here as well. Welcome to Western culture. Me personally, I don't fit that mold. I went to school, I studied, threw half of it out. You know why? Second grade, we were introduced to these prep tests. We were going to have to take a test every 3 years, proving however much we have learned. And then our scores would be placed on a graph and then compared with all of the other school age children. So in third grade, everybody has to take a standardized test. Sixth grade, everyone takes a standardized test. Ninth grade, everyone takes a standardized test. Senior year in 12th grade, everyone takes a standardized test. And the test never changes. It's the same test. In second grade, we took a pre-test just to get us used to it. The questions were slightly different. However, in third grade, they spent 2 weeks giving us pep rallies about what we should do in order to get some great results in testing. They spent 2 weeks prepping us. And then the following term, when I was in the sixth grade, boom, here we go again. Give us this big old pep rally about how we need to make sure we eat right and we have the lights on when we're studying and blah, blah, blah. Well, isn't that what you're supposed to do all the time, every day? Why is it so important about this test, which doesn't change, by the way? Like I said, it's the same test. Each time, it's the same test. So in third grade, you were comparing me to third graders, sixth graders, ninth graders, and 12th graders. I lost interest in school because it was a repetitive process. Repeat after me. And then after you repeat it, you have a chapter quiz where you have to repeat the answer again. And then you have a semester test where you have to repeat the answer again. Who's the first president of the United States? Again and again and again and again. But he wasn't even the first president. Again and again and again. Going somewhere with this. So I was feeling cantankerous last night. Came across a post where Janu was actually earnestly returning a comment to someone who had left a comment on her post. I didn't even go into whatever her original post was. I just saw whatever it was she was talking about. She was responding to someone who was speaking very ill about the treatment of children and objectifying them sexually. So she's going on about how, with the native spirit and things like that, we don't portray that kind of mode, and we don't act that way, and we present ourselves this kind of way. Certain people have wisdom this way and that. Okay, I'm gonna let you know something. A child molester shows up in my face. Child molester better hope that they can run faster than me, and I hate running. So they're gonna be in real trouble when I catch them. A child molester wants to show up and leave a comment or whatever on my content, you're hiding behind a screen. I don't care about someone leaving a sideways comment just to hackle me. So I was feeling cantankerous. And that's the kind of comment that I left was, what are you worried about? And then I said, I'm here to be a Kyle. I'm not Kyle from Living Single. I'm in an office sharing the same building. Or yeah, I'm in an office. I'm in an apartment sharing the same building with you. And I see what's going on. I just wanted to be a Kyle for a moment. I'm not going to shout in your ears right now. However, I yelled, wake up. That's the end scene of a movie called School Days. Clang, 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 clang. Wake up. Now let's lead that on into a scene where there's a man standing in front of a little pillbox cinder block building. That's his office. And he's pointing up at a billboard. And in the parking lot, there's a little Volkswagen Beetle. And he's informing these young men about how they need to change their mind and their perception. That led back to, what if you did have somebody that came to split between the pomade on your scalp? Because when I say gamma, you say punk. I speak in code because I live by a codex. What if I just told you that I just told you you took the red and green pill at the same time? Red pill, blue pill, green pill. Yeah. Hanging out with me is that's what you'll get. Because I just took you through the acting career of one Lawrence Fishburne, who was very impactful in my life. I don't think I've ever seen him do a Native American role. Some do Cornbread Earl. Uh, may have been in Cooley High. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think he was in Cooley High. We have certain people in our lives who are leading by example. They're having to choose different roles in order to show the message. I'm not Hollywood bound. Nowadays, you can't get me to sit through a movie. If I don't fall asleep, I'm going to get distracted and go do something else besides watch a movie. It's very hard for me to sit through one of those. Now, show me a documentary, a film, that's different. I'm all eyes, all ears. I want some information. I don't want to be lulled into imagination. Lawrence Fishburne was a mentor to me, is a mentor to me, not for his acting, for his method. Go back, check out Furious Styles. See, he brought me a plate. No, I don't eat pork, right? Then look how he raised up his son compared to how everyone else was in the neighborhood. Go back and watch School Days. See a man in his studies on the college campus looking at those who were pledging Greek as if they'd lost their minds. You see, I've spent my time on college campuses and I've been around Greeks. They asked me when I was going to play. I just said never. There's a specific family that I already belong to. And really, I don't have to claim a set in the streets because the streets claim me. So I don't need to be Greek. Not by far. And then he went on to wear a trench coat and instruct someone how they can use ability, skill, practice in order to shut down that imagination system and bring some reality into life. Talking codes because I live by a codex. I tell you, stay away from red food coloring, yellow food coloring, blue food coloring, and blah, blah, blah. Well, sometimes I got to treat myself because most of the time, all I drink is water. And then I get my coffee. It's mostly water. So, yeah, you're going to see me drink this blue drink right here. And I'm going to enjoy myself. Not telling you to go do this. I'm just letting you know. It's just some random little pouches from Hawaiian Punch. It's time for a party. Today's party is obedience and sacrifice. I went on a mission. I was cantankerous last night to release some steam. Today it's all about business, though, again. I don't get a chance to rest much. So when I do allow that jokative streak to breathe. Most of the time, I don't do that on social media. It's just whoever happens to be around me. If I'm in the mood, they'll see it. The charge and the mission was to learn about New Jerusalem descending from the heavens. What does it look like? What goes on there? Have you heard of a city that was actually populated by priests? Other people came to visit the city, but it's populated by priests. Priests live there. You heard of that city? Oh, great Rabbi, we come to you asking for your mercy and your strength, asking for you to approve as we raise in stature. We ask you to forgive us for any trespasses that we commit while on your divine path. We ask that you show us that way as well, so that we may be able to do so with others when we feel that we've been slighted. Amen. Rabbi Shafiri, Warahmani, Washbani, Warfani, Warzukni, Wadini, Walfi. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Our great Father, the greatest Rabbi, is the greatest. All praises be to our Father, Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amen. All praises to the source of sustenance and mercy. We're going to go into Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48. We're not going to read all of 40 through 48. When I went through the studies earlier, I was on the internet and it took me to NIV. And the reason why I stayed in it was because it was doing a section by section breakdown. So if you are familiar with the vision that happens in Ezekiel, you know, there's a man standing at a gate with a rod, and he starts going about measuring everything. This man looks like bronze. So yeah, when I looked it up and I was studying earlier, I was looking at it on the internet. However, we are about to go through in the book. Alhamdulillah. Hallelujah. Here we go. Ezekiel. We're looking for Ezekiel 40. This is my brother Ben's book. I travel with my Quran and with the autobiography of Malcolm X. Because I can usually find a Bible wherever I go. Somebody has a Bible somewhere. Finding a Quran is a different story. We're getting there. 38. Almost there. It's talking about the gates. South Gate, East Gate, Inner Court. See, there was something real important in here that I want to share with you. Who remembers Zadok? Zadok. Okay. Who remembers Aaron? Harun. Aaron. He's the one who helped Moses. Musa. Those of Zadok are in the lineage of Aaron, right? While reading through Ezekiel 40 and 41 and 42, you're going to hear about the chambers and porches, temple measurements, the side chambers, total measurements of the temple, the altar of wood, the two doors. We're in 42 now, the north chambers, the upper chambers, the east and the south chambers, the use of the chambers. Now we're at 43. Ezekiel at the east gate. This is where we're going to start reading. Mm-hmm. I'll read from here. Yeah. Actually, no, that's not the part. That's not the part. There is something in here we need to read about, though. We're not going to take y'all out of this. We are going to start right here at 43. Ezekiel at the east gate. We've been going for 37 minutes. There are two chapters that I want to read out of Ezekiel. And then there's a little bit of discussion. I wasn't prepared to do 2 hours. However, it looks like we do 2 hours and maybe a little bit more. Let's go. So there was a man walking around with a rod measuring things. Afterward, he brought me to the gate, even the gate that looked toward the east. And behold, the glory of Yahweh Elohim of Yahashariah came from the way of the east. And his voice was like the noise of many waters, and the earth shined with his glory. And it was according to the appearance of the vision which I saw, even according to the vision that I saw when I came to destroy the city. And the visions were like the vision that I saw by the river Chebar, and I fell upon my face. And the glory of Adon came into the house by the way of the gate, whose prospect is toward the east. So the Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner court, and behold, the glory of Adon filled the house. And I heard him speaking unto me out of the house, and the man stood by me. And he said to me, Son of man, the place of my throne and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Yahashariah forever, and my holy name shall the house of Yahashariah no more defile, neither they nor their kings by their whoredom, nor by the carcasses of their kings in their high places, in their setting of their threshold by my thresholds, and their post by my posts, and the wall between me and them. They have even defiled my holy name by their abominations that they have committed. Wherefore I have consumed them in mine anger. Now let them put away their whoredom and the carcasses of their kings far from me, and I will dwell in the midst of them forever. In the NIV, it's basically saying that they were selling out themselves in order to appease the kings and allowing the kings to basically come into the temple of Yahweh Elohim, our true Adon, and set up their throne in the midst where they did not have any place. And then once the king would pass away, they would also do burial rites inside of the temple, which also was not righteous. The law of the house. You, son of man, Show the house to the house of Yahashariah, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and let them measure the pattern. And if they be ashamed of all that they have done, show them the form of the house, and the fashion thereof, and the goings out thereof, and the comings in thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the ordinances thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the laws thereof, and write it in their sight, that they may keep the whole form thereof, and all the ordinance thereof, and do them. No adding on, no subtracting, no allowing because it's what's popular. No, there's a certain way you're supposed to do this. And you don't line up anything next to it talking about its equivalent because it's not. It should not even be there at all. That's the law. This is the law of the house. Upon the top of the mountain, the whole limit thereof, round about shall be most holy. Behold, this is the law of the house. And these are the measures of the altar after the cubits. We'll go through that because, like I said, I want to go and read this. The cubit is a cubit and an hand breadth. Even the bottom shall be a cubit, and the breadth a cubit, and the border thereof by the edge thereof. Round about shall be a span, and this shall be the higher place of the altar. And from the bottom upon the ground, even to the lower settle, shall be 2 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit. And from the lesser settle even to the greater settle shall be 4 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit. So the altar shall be 4 cubits, and from the altar and upward shall be 4 horns, and the altar shall be 12 cubits long, 12 broad, square in the 4 squares thereof. And the settle shall be 14 cubits long, and 14 broad in the 4 squares thereof, and the border about it shall be half a cubit, and the bottom thereof shall be a cubit about, and his stairs shall look toward the east. That's just the altar. You know how big a cubit actually is? Close to 23 inches. It could be anywhere from 11 inches to 23 inches. So they're talking about things that are 4 cubits, that's 4 feet, basically 4 to 8 feet. 12 cubits, 12 to almost 25 feet. You have to lay stones down, and that's what this is talking about. How to build the altar. And this altar is built on some stonework floor inside of a specific room, inside of the chambers, inside of Jerusalem. It's not something you go and just throw a few stones together outside and have a pit and you put your stuff in it. No, it's not that table that they lay out flatbread and little cups of wine on. No, no, none of that's supposed to be there. That is not our way. That is not the divine path. The first day of consecration. Read Ezekiel 43:18. And he said unto me, Son of man, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, these are the ordinances of the altar in the day when they shall make it, to offer burnt offerings thereon, and to sprinkle blood thereon. And thou shalt give to the priests, the Levites, that be the seed of Zadok, which approach unto me to minister unto me, saith Yahweh Elohim, a young bullock for a sin offering. And thou shalt take the blood thereof and put it on the 4 horns of it, and on the 4 corners of the settle, and upon the border round about. Thus shalt thou cleanse and purge it. Thou shalt take the bullock also of the sin offering, and he shall burn it in the appointed place of the house without the sanctuary. because there were actually several different lines of division. There was a place where the priest actually stayed inside the inner wall. There were enclaves for them to stay in. And then they would go to another place where they also would prepare the food for offerings, because there's something y'all need to understand. There's the burnt offering, but then there's also an offering of food for the priests to eat, because that was what they consumed. It wasn't about just burning something up and sending it to ash. May Yahweh be satisfied. The offerings were also brought to feed the priests, because they were the ones who were supposed to show the people the way that we're supposed to walk. That's why they weren't out doing toil all the time, is because they were supposed to be in their studies. If anybody came to them and asked a question, they were supposed to be able to tell them immediately, well, this is the way.